I think it's amazing the world that Michael has created, and he continues to make them bigger and better.
Making it unique brings people back, but the essence of these movies are the characters. So to keep people excited, we've constantly added new characters.
This film is really like the best toy chest you could ever open. What do you want? It's all there.
Did you forget who I am?
Western Star, we approached again. We brought back the Transformers 4 Optimus Primes, and they did a little bit of a retrofit, just shrunk the hood down a little bit, kind of kept everything the same. Fresher paint job, kind of freshened up the trucks.
Some of the attributes of Optimus that we added in the last film is that he can fly, which he had never done before. So he has jetpacks within his legs, and he also has a sword that is kind of like an Excalibur-type sword, and we are making him more like a knight.
We spent a lot more time on Optimus. There always are slight design changes that we want to get in there, but then we also try and figure out ways to optimize them. One of the big things that we had on this one, that there's a great sequence that's on top of a cross ship where the knights have surrounded Optimus and kind of have him at a disadvantage. And we had, on this one, develop self-reflections. So Optimus is reflecting on some of his own surfaces, and that was sort of a new look for us, and something that we were really proud of.
Like anyone in the entire world, I was starstruck to see Bumblebee, the Transformer head, and also the car.
A GM Camaro, a yellow Camaro, can evoke so much. I think it's everything that goes along with it, though. I mean, Bumblebee, who he is, what he stands for, so they know the car is a piece of him.
Bumblebee had one of the biggest updates. We went in and we rebuilt a bunch of Bumblebee.
In this movie, we get to deal with Bumblebee with a new power. That's a big difference in this movie, is that Bumblebee had this magtech that we have shown a few times in the movie, but we need to make sure that there's a physicality to it. When his limbs fall off, I don't just want them to bloop, 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 come back up into place. They have to work to get themselves back to where Bumblebee is.
There was one new character that we were really excited about, which was Hot Rod, which we had a lot of fun with.
He's a Citron that belonged to Viviana's father.
As soon as she realizes who he is, he doesn't have to be in disguise anymore. He doesn't have to be that 20-year-old beat-up Citroen anymore. So they're driving down the street, and he sees a Lamborghini, and he scans the Lamborghini.
Wow, I love this car!
And he gets to be that, and he's a little bit vain.
Designing Hot Rod's face, we were looking for, what's the distinctive thing going to be for Hot Rod? And we grabbed a team of 5 or 6 artists, and over the course of 3 days, 100 face sketches each. And we had hundreds and hundreds of just these little studies for faces. I mean, we just laid them all out. In the same way that Bumblebee's face is distinct, you want a face for Hot Rod that is distinct and you recognize it.
Get out of here! My weapon would stop the time!
Hot Rod has this cool weapon where if you fire at someone, it envelops them in a time bubble, where time inside that bubble goes really slow, but time on the outside is in real time.
He was fun in that for the first time in a long time, we were trying to build a robot that needed to hold up and have as much personality as Bumblebee.
Michael and I were looking at the Dakar rallies, and they use Unimogs quite heavily in those. And we wanted to try and use that car because we wanted to get real speed out of Hound. Also, Hound is a medic because he's working with Cade trying to fix the robots. And we wanted to give him some other kinds of looks. And he's the big palooka with a heart of gold.
Stop the time!
There's a gag in this movie where Hot Rod used his time gun, stopped time around a couple of bad guys, which allowed Hound to use his minigun and just litter the bubble with bullets so that when the bubble goes away in real time, Decepticons are just destroyed by these bullets.
The reason I liked making him a medic is because we had him rescuing characters, and I felt like that was a good way to show him and make him a little bit different than what he was before. I think he's just a great character, and everybody really likes him.
Oh yeah, big time! I should not have eaten all that Tijuana street machinery.
last film, we had Hound, Crosshairs, and Drift, which are all really terrific guys. Michael really stressed the character development in them, and we saw the action that they could do, and so we wanted them to come back.
We kind of gave Crosshairs a new facelift, so to say. A little bit of new design, new pattern for him. Some upgrades on some vents and a little bit of hood. The car itself is the same vehicle that we had from Transformers 4, same Crosshairs. Just kind of gave him a little bit of a makeover.
Again, with our partner GM, they wanted to do a revised Corvette, and so he's a little sleeker. GM has done some specialty work to him for us that's made him something special.
Listen up, Little Miss Sunshine. I'm in charge now. Just don't expect any bedtime stories.
All the characters from the last one, Michael liked them all. With Drift, it's all been kind of an ongoing process from 4 to 5.
Drift was also a major redo on his face, especially. His colors obviously changed from the last movie to this one because of his vehicle change.
Drift was the opportunity to bring in the world of the samurai and their knights. And also Drift has some Chinese attributes as well, the way he fights. He was a Bugatti in the last show, and this one, there's a brand new generation of a Mercedes that Michael really liked.
From Mercedes, we have the GTR as our character Drift.
He trans-scans the AMG and becomes that. Drift is incredibly powerful, incredibly fast, and has the soul of the samurai.
No hate, no anger. Get off, you maggot!
Oh my God! A leprechaun! Who the hell are you?
Leprechauns are tiny, green, and Irish, and that is offensive.
Cogman is a character that we took to Michael, and I said, look, I know there's nothing like this, but he could be a real interesting robot. And Michael saw it, and he goes, I love this guy.
Sir Edmund Burton, the Anthony Hopkins character, has a butler, but it's not a human butler. It's this 4-foot-tall robot called Cogman.
Cogman is a perfectly respectable Victorian butler, apart from the fact that he's 4 foot 2 inches tall and a sociopath. And his greatest delight in the world is strangling people, beating them up.
I just have so much road rage!
Actualized rage, that's it!
Cogman is one of our coolest characters that we've done. The design for him was very, very intricate. He was 100% metal. So we had little lights inside the neck and the sternum and the shoulders and the tummy to show all the inner workings. And he was supposed to look like a really finely made watch.
Michael Bay loves the texture and the dirtiness of the real world. So for Cogman, we were photographing armor and mechanics and clock innards.
Cogman's a great character. Let's hope he comes back time and time again.
Move, bitch, get out of my way! Move, bitch, get out of my way!
One of the fun things about this film is that there are some characters that are unlike characters we've done in previous films. Squeaks is one of them, because it's a robot that's at human scale and interacts with humans.
Hey, stop throwing a hissy fit.
Squeaks is adorable. He's probably the cutest Transformer I've ever seen.
Michael wanted a character that would be fun to watch, and so I took that and started playing around with that as a robot.
They built a practical version of this robot, which is also something we haven't really done before. They built a full-size Squeaks based off of our CG model.
We've made 3 Squeaks that can move around, and he can drive through things, and his arms move.
We had an actual thing made, and it was pretty cool. And like Jeff, who controls him and like makes his head move and his arms turn, like we're buds now.
We then came back around and made a computer model that matched exactly this physical prop. And we would take over when the Squeaks puppet couldn't perform things required of it, or even just replacing some mechanics in its head to move and makes its eye express.
He's a full-fledged member of our cast, so we treat him as such, has his own chair and everything.
Day Trader's here. Oh, here comes the most irritating, annoying Transformer on Earth.
Trader Bot's a new robot we invented. He was called Barger Bot for a while.
I remember working in the desert in Morocco, and you'd see these trucks that would go over the mountains, and they would be carrying all kinds of stuff. And I thought, well, what would happen if we had someone like Steve Buscemi be this guy?
Easy, what? Oh, God, you always resort to violence.
And Cade's always telling him to get the hell out of here, I don't want your stuff. But Barger Bot has information that is vital to the movie.
He's just like a street peddler. All the objects are mounted on kind of his backpack and hanging on his clothing and hanging from everywhere. So every time he tries to grab things, axles fall off and big heavy objects, and you know, don't stand near him because you could get hurt.
We had to find objects and fabricate objects that went with it. And I also thought it would be funny because he's picked up stuff from different universes. So I thought it would be interesting to add some things that we used on the previous Transformers in Hong Kong.
You don't really know a whole lot about him, but he's an interesting character.
All right, I'm gonna go slather myself in oil.
Megatron is the main villain of the Decepticons, and he's reborn. He's different actually in every movie. So in this one, we had a new design, so we had to rebuild him from the ground up, essentially. We didn't look back at anything that we did before.
I drew up the initial Megatron, which is a different kind of vehicle, incredibly fast. And all of our jets and then a lot of the space-type vehicles are based on swords and daggers. So they all kind of look like that kind of shape. And that's kind of what we're going for in this. We wanted to broaden the world a bit with these characters. Megatron in this one is no longer a vehicle, he's a jet spacecraft.
Megatron, he got cooler shapes, and he got a pretty cool war mask. And he has a little bit of an iridescent quality to him.
He's a fan favorite, but he's also our favorite. I mean, he's a great villain. This is sort of the closing of a chapter and the beginning of new chapters to come.
My army will stop them.
I read some of the fan blogs, and there was a blog that had everybody vote on who's the character you'd love to see come back. And it was Barricade. And I went to Michael and I said, Michael, we got to bring Barricade back.
We went and got the appropriate car and the appropriate vehicle and made Barricade for the fans for this one.
Today driving Barricade, one of the characters. Really fun, really fast car. A lot of exciting stuff you get to do in this thing. Sliding corners, chasing people, turning the lights on, not getting arrested for it. It's a good time.
We redesigned the car with ILM, and he's now back in, and he's a big player in the movie.
Michael wanted to go with dual eyes on Barricade. He's a police car type robot, and so we went with a blue and a red eye and reconfigured his shape and his silhouette and beefed him up a lot.
You need a good bad guy. He's a good bad guy.
And we have fun with, he has to punish and enslave, which we've changed to keep calm and hail Megatron.
Oh, yeah, Decepticons is in the street.
I showed Michael Confederate motorcycles. And I think Confederate makes one of the most interesting hand-tooled motorcycles you can find. And Michael looked at it and got on the bike, tried it. It's a gorgeous piece of steel. And they made a couple of them for us. And that is a character called Mohawk.
What up, fellas?
Michael, at some point, stumbled upon an illustrated book about assassins. And all of the illustrations in this book feature, guys who have spray paint tattoos on them and arrows stuck in their arms. So Michael thought that this group of Decepticons who've been bored and doing bad things would start to decorate themselves.
The braces were a little bit of a challenge in terms of getting facial expressions right, because we had to make sure that it didn't really affect his performances when he opened his mouth and he tried to smile or talk. So we had to do a few rounds on making the braces just a little bit different.
This ain't right.
That's how you get to the big leagues.